Alienated by his family after he is blamed for an incident involving his brother, Takeshi's only solace is in his girlfriend, Kurumi. One day he encounters a girl named Mui, and his life is changed forever as he's thrust into the world of magic. When he arrives at school, he finds a girl named Mui collapsed on the ground. Upon bringing her to the infirmary, she becomes confused and turns hostile. When their lips accidentally touch, she fires off a few magic bullets in embarrassment. Suganashi appears in the infirmary, accompanied by a group known as the Ghost Trailers. Mui explains that Suganashi is her brother, but his memories are altered. Takeshi tries to escape with Mui, but Suganashi freezes the window shut. Oigami confronts them and Takeshi draws his bokken. Takeshi gets the better of Ogami, but his bokken eventually shatters. Takeshi suddenly manifests evasion magic in his eye, allowing him to see through Oigami's next move. Using this, he has Oigami's great sword crash through the window, allowing him and Mui to escape. Suganashi orders them to capture Mui, but Hotaru runs into Ida, one of Takeshi's friends. Mui explains that she accidentally turned him to a magician. She elaborates that all humans inherently have magic that lays dormant, but exposure to magic can awaken it. Magicians usually hide themselves from society, but groups like the Ghost Trailer go against this. Oigami and Ushiwaka find them, just as Kurumi appears. However, she's more preoccupied with Takeshi's relationship to Mui. Ushikawa attacks Mui, but when Kurumi provokes him, he directs his anger toward her instead. But when his bees hit Mui, his ability to use magic is forcibly stripped away, the penalty for attacking another magician in the living world. Kurumi begins manifesting transformation magic as her chest suddenly balloons in size. Ida begins manifesting flames. Oigami and Takeshi continue to fight and appear evenly matched. But with Mui's help, Takeshi thrusts his bokken into Oigami's throat. Afterward, Mui is forced to take them with her to the magical world so she can explain everything. Mui brings them to Subaru Academy, and after Kurumi's injuries are treated by Yodo, the nurse, they speak to Momo, the headmistress. She explains that 16 years ago, the Great Magical War occurred, in which the leader of the Ghost Trailers, Kazuma, tried to wipe out humanity. Thanks to the efforts of a coalition of mages, the world was split into two. The world that was spared is referred to as the Living World, while the world that suffered Kazuma's ultimate spell, Last Requiem, became the Ruined World. The war continued, but it was agreed that they would battle in the Ruined World, with the wise men casting a gift spell in the Living World to prevent mages from battling there. Normal magic is permitted, but ancestral magic, magic that is decided by an individual's quality and personality, is not. Mui recites the 6 types of ancestral magic: evasive, illusion, destructive, black, accelerative, and corporeal. Momo explains that there are communities, groups that share a common ideology. For example, Ghost Trailer advocates wizard supremacy, while Wizard Brace hopes for peaceful coexistence with non-wizards. Momo gives them a choice: to remain in the Ruined World and become magicians, or return to the Living World but lose their magic. Takeshi opts to remain in the Ruined World, as does Ida, and Kurumi reluctantly tags along. His sudden transfer catches Geiko and his mother, Yoko, by surprise. In a few days, Takeshi settles in. To channel his ancestral magic, Hitoji has Mui take Takeshi to Kato, in charge of the Academy's armory. Takeshi picks out a katana, but it still has the magic seal of its former owner, whom Kato says fought in the Great Magic War. Kato suddenly attacks Takeshi, forcing him to try the katana. Surprisingly, the sword activates in response to Takeshi's magic, revealing itself to be a gunblade. Kato convinces him to make it his aspect, remarking that the blade's name is Twilight. Meanwhile, after slaughtering an entire church, a woman named V is retrieved by a man named Kippe. Mui gives Kurumi tickets to a fortune-telling show hosted by Violet, their English teacher. Out in the hallway, members of Wizard Brace view Mui with disdain. Hitoji explains that their school is home to more than 50 communities, and the 7 largest of these, Wizard Brace, Eclipse, Club Oz, Ancient Pendragon, Spriggan, Bishop of the Camelot, and Phoenix Foundation, hold voting rights within the International Magicians Association. Mui is a member of Wizard Brace, but she's viewed as a traitor due to her brothers defecting to Ghost Trailers. Later, Takeshi sees several male students trading photos of Kurumi, but he disperses them, declaring that he and Kurumi are dating. Mui overhears this and apologizes to Takeshi. Kurumi has her fortune read by Violet, who reveals that her unrequited love may face difficulties due to a third party. When Mui admits to her that she accidentally kissed Takeshi, she runs to him. However, he refuses her advances and instead suggests that the two stop pretending they're dating. Afterwards, Kurumi begins to skip practice, refusing to speak to Takeshi or his friends. Mui thinks it is her fault, but Takeshi reassures her otherwise. But Kurumi sees them talking from afar and she gets a sinking feeling in her stomach. When another male student tries confessing to Kurumi, he accidentally touches her, causing her to relive a past trauma. Takeshi intervenes and he and Kurumi reconcile. Kurumi's beauty always attracted admirers, but after one bad interaction with a stalker, the pair decided to enter a fake relationship to dissuade further trouble. Meanwhile, Geiko decides that it's time he and his brother made up. 2 years ago, Geiko was enraged to learn that Kurumi, the girl he liked, is dating Takeshi. During a confrontation, Geiko is accidentally hit by a car, and the incident is blamed to Takeshi. Later, Kurumi lets Takeshi keep one of the photos he retrieved. She wonders if Takeshi really reconciled with her of his own volition, or because Mui asked him to. The question remains, who does he really like? Mui asks Violet to help her and find her brother, and she uses her divination to find out. The next day, Mui tells the others that Kurumi never came home last night, only leaving behind a map. They bring this to Hitoji's attention, but he says he cannot sanction a rescue since the director is away. Ignoring his friend's warnings, Takeshi decides to look for Mui. His decision alienates Kurumi, but ultimately, both she and Ida tag along. They sneak into a portal to the ruined world, where a concierge, responsible for overseeing transport between worlds, warns them to remain inside of her barrier. They ignore her warnings. Meanwhile, Mui is led to a trap by Tsuganashi, who intends to capture her. Despite reminding him of the white glove she gave him on his birthday, he remembers nothing, and he chokes her unconscious. Seeing this, Takeshi charges Tsuganashi, who responds with a hail of ice, freezing Ida in the process. Takeshi tries to free Ida, but he tells him to focus on rescuing Mui. Though Takeshi is not aware of it, he saved Ida's sister in the past, which he is grateful for to this day. Takeshi denounces Tsuganashi's actions, while the latter laughs that Takeshi can't cast Liberate, which makes him unlikely to dodge his next attack. But Takeshi uses shards to shatter Ida's ice prison. Takeshi tells Ida to do the thing while he buys them time. With the skin of his teeth, Ida charges the shell in time and tosses it towards Takeshi, who uses it with Twilight to blast Tsuganashi. When the smoke clears, Kippei arrives to retrieve Ida, and he invites Takeshi to join them. However, Subaru Academy helicopters appear on the horizon, and Kippei is forced to retreat. Momo scolds Takeshi and his accomplices, but they're not willing to promise they won't do it again. Impressed by their will to help Mui, she decides to give them a chance. Meanwhile, Kippei instructs V, revealed to be Violet, to find the wielder of Twilight. Momo gives Takeshi and his friends a chance to prove themselves at the ancestral magic exams, and if their results are satisfactory, she will allow them to attempt a retrieval of Tsuganashi. Their aim is to reach a cathedral in the middle of an illusionary town, but the path is laden with obstacles, like giant bugs strapped with chain guns. Takeshi encounters Oigami, who appears to have no memory of their encounter. Momo and Itoji watch from above, revealing it was the latter who rewrote his memories, since they need every last mage they can get. The magic exams are conducted on several levels, but when Violet and other trailers infiltrate the exam building, the floors on each level begin to disappear, sending Takeshi tumbling down below. He meets up with his friends and Kurumi recounts her meeting with Oigami. They decide to continue the exam anyway, but a magic-enhanced golem blocks their path. But Takeshi and Ida perform their combo attack again, and the golem is destroyed. Satisfied with the results of their operation, Violet pulls out. As Momo deals with the aftermath, she decides to give Takeshi and his friend a chance to participate in the Tsuganashi retrieval operation. Meanwhile, Takeshi refuses to return to the living world with Kurumi for New Year's. She decided to go back alone, and she meets Geiko, who says that she no longer has to put up with a fake relationship because he'll be transferring to their school next year. Meanwhile, Takeshi brings Mui to her room after he realizes she has a fever, but secretly, Violet retrieves a hair sample from him. In her feverish delirium, Mui becomes overly physical with Takeshi, which Kurumi has the displeasure of witnessing, and she kicks them both out. She runs off into the library where, surprisingly, Oigami comforts her. Confused, she runs off again, still mad at Takeshi. Takeshi sees her running away, and as tension runs high, the operation to retrieve Tsuganashi is slated for February. Momo gives Mui a special bullet containing sealing magic, which will capture Tsuganashi without injury. She then conjures a portal, bringing Oigami and Hotaru. Kippei is there, waiting with Tsuganashi. Oigami and Hotaru are brought as hostages to return to the trailers to draw them out. Oigami gives Kurumi a red pendant before being taken away with a reluctant Hotaru. As Momo leaves to deal with Kippei, the rest are left to face Tsuganashi. However, even with the magicians Yodo brought, Tsuganashi makes short work of him, and he escapes. Mui, Takeshi, and Ida chase after him. Momo fights her former teammate Kippei, eager to avenge her fallen comrade, Mitaka. Kippei's magic allows him to melt anything he looks at within a given time. As he lays eyes on Momo, he gives a 13-minute countdown. Momo catches Kippei off guard by using her portal magic, tossing him into a room she prepared beforehand. But to her shock, he manages to escape. Kippei hints that Momo is fighting for something entirely different because Kazuma, the leader of the Ghost Trailers, will soon awaken and her atrocities during the war will be brought to light. Momo uses her final spell, Space Arc, to attempt to suck in Kippei before the melting spell defeats her, but Kippei wins out, and Momo falls into Tokyo Bay. Takeshi and his friends track Tsuganashi to his ice palace. Due to a miscommunication, Takeshi and Ida's combination spell misfires. Mui forges ahead alone, as Takeshi asks Ida to blast him out of the ice. Mui makes one final appeal to Suganashi, but he refuses to listen. Takeshi and Ida arrive just in time, but strangely, as Mui begins to cry, tears also stream down Suganashi's face. Using the special bullet, Mui fires her gun at her brother. Momo is revealed to have barely survived, but Yodo tells her not to worry. She'll personally give her sponge baths every day. Meanwhile, Suganashi's memory is restored, and the two siblings happily embrace. At a trailer meeting, Kippe introduces his new candidate. After Takeshi recovers from a nightmare involving Kurumi being killed, his sword, Twilight, transforms into a girl. The next day, Mui gives Takeshi some chocolate, which her brother teases her about. Kurumi gives him some too, and she insists on marshmallows from Telmar, so they agree to go together. Takeshi has another dream about Mui tripping into a plate of pudding. As he walks out to clear his head, he meets Suganashi, who suggests he visit Yodo if the nightmares continue. Takeshi is shaken to learn that Mui did the trip while chasing pudding. He goes to see Yodo, who sees a girl feeding on his magic as he sleeps. She explains that these nightmares are prophetic visions. Furthermore, she tells him to stop keeping Twilight by his bedside. If things continue, it will consume his magic until he dies. However, when Takeshi disobeys this order again, Momo tells him to either comply or surrender Twilight. When he insists on needing Twilight, she respects his will and decides to help him. She has Yodo to put him into a deep sleep where he will battle with a physical manifestation of Twilight inside his sword. Mui will join him as support. Before they begin, Momo tells him that the relationship between an aspect and its owner is that of a parent and child. When he enters his dream world, his thoughts wander, and Mui is placed in a swimsuit. Afterwards, he sees a vision of his mother who warns him about Geiko. The scenery soon changes and Twilight's incarnation appears before him. Twilight's sword drains the magic out of its victims until they die, and when she attacks Mui, her magic slowly drains out. Takeshi realizes that Twilight is just like him. All he wanted was for his mother to acknowledge him. He bestows upon Twilight a new name, Eterna, and the incarnation is appeased. Meanwhile, Geiko tells his mother that he got into the high school he wanted, and she congratulates him without looking him in the eye. A month later, Takeshi dines with a Kurumi at a cafe. She's anxious about being in her second year, but he promises to protect her no matter what. A new school year begins in April. Takeshi and Kurumi help to welcome the new students and are surprised to meet Futaba, Ida's sister. Ida explains that after an argument, he accidentally used his magic on her, causing her to become a magician. But that isn't the only surprise. Takeshi and Kurumi are stunned to see Geiko. Takeshi is pleasantly surprised that Geiko took the initiative to reconcile, and the two brothers get along again. One day, Hitoji tells Takeshi that something is strange about Geiko, and he advises him to act as a role model for his little brother. That evening, Takeshi wakes up from a nightmare involving a vengeful Geiko. He sees Kippe on the windowsill, but he has not come for a fight. Rather, he's here to give Takeshi a history lesson from his perspective. In the Middle Ages, Wizard Brace was a tyrannical group that used extreme measures to monopolize the use of magic. He talks about Kazuma, one of his best friends alongside Tsukiyomi. Kazuma refused to join Wizard Brace, asserting that his right to use magic is his alone. The administrator at the time threatened to kill his parents if he refused, but in a rage, Kazuma used Requiem, killing him. Not long after, his parents were found murdered. This drove Kazuma to create ghost trailers, to shield other magicians who were similarly threatened. During the Great Magic War, Kazuma killed Tsukiyomi, who was trying to protect Yoko, his lover, and Takeshi's mother. Kippe hopes that by revealing this information, Takeshi can be won over to his side. Takeshi refuses to hand over Eterna, which is revealed to be his mother's old sword. Kippe tells him to use his strike vision, and to talk to Momo if he wants to learn more. Takeshi reaches out to him again, but it was seemingly all a dream. The next day, Takeshi confirms with Momo that his mother was indeed one of the Great 15 magicians. When he asks who killed Kazuma's parents, his eye sees something terrifying, and he runs out. Momo notices this and suspects that Takeshi met with Kippe. Meanwhile, Kippe sees Kazuma rousing from his sleep, and Violet estimates that he will fully awaken on June 15th. Kazuma awakens, signaling the start of the Second Great Magic War. Takeshi's eye senses an incoming attack, and he saves his class from a dragon. Takeshi thinks of his brother and he leaves to look for him with Kurumi. As Ancient Pendragon joins forces with the Trailers, the school quickly devolves into chaos. Ida is injured while looking for his sister, while Suganashi defends Mui from traitors. A three-man cell from the Ancient Pendragon attacks Momo. They combine their powers to create a pocket atmosphere to suffocate her to death, but Momo manages to break through the magic by exploiting a weak spot, and she sucks them all into a black hole. When she sees Violet siding with the traitors, she remarks, "You're fired." But Violet calls upon a wyvern to crush Momo, knocking her out of the fight. Mui and Suganashi carry an injured Ida to the infirmary, where neither Nei nor Yudu have any idea what's going on. Takeshi and Kurumi run into Geiko, but Takeshi's strike vision warns him that Geiko is a ghost trailer. Takeshi has Kurumi behind him, but Geiko's magic, Angel Hunt, allows him to effortlessly beat Takeshi into the ground, far surpassing his strike vision in terms of speed. Kurumi cries for him to stop, but Geiko says that it is his God-given right to punish Takeshi. Geiko activates his ancestral magic, turning him into an angel, and he performs a killer air juggle that leaves Takeshi bloodied on the ground. Kurumi attempts to resuscitate him, but Geiko knocks her out to bring her into the trailers. He also takes Twilight, leaving Takeshi alone on the ground. Violet appears over Takeshi just as Eterna shows him a vision of Geiko killing his mother. When Mui finally finds Takeshi, she sees Violet standing over him. Violet attempts to escape with Takeshi, but thanks to Ina and a few witches from Camelot, they force her to leave empty-handed. Suganashi arrives and Mui explains to Takeshi that Ina is his ex-girlfriend. As they rush Takeshi to the infirmary, Mui discovers that Kurumi left behind her red pendant. When Takeshi awakens, he learns he's at Camelot's medical facility in the living world, and he has been unconscious for 3 days. A distressed Ida reveals that his sister was taken by the Specialized Magic Agency, an organization that examines highly valuable magic. Suganashi and Ina enter, still without news about Momo's condition. Takeshi insists on saving Kurumi, but they tell him without any leads, they are still unable to act. That evening, Takeshi overhears Ina telling Suganashi that Camelot is a woman-only community. They want Takeshi out. However, Suganashi says that if Takeshi is sent back to the academy now, he will surely be pressed into battle. Ina agrees to do what she can. Meanwhile, Kazuma signals the beginning of his great war. Kippe kills the wise man, removing his gift, Spell from the World, allowing magicians to do battle in both the living and ruined worlds. When Takeshi learns of what has happened, he asks to visit his house, and Ina volunteers to escort him. When they arrive, she gives Yoko a letter asking her to train Takeshi. Yoko is hesitant at first, but when she sees the ring attached to the letter, she agrees. Yoko, satisfied with Takeshi's goal to protect Kurumi, begins harshly training him in earnest. Secretly, Yoko's own life force is put on the line, since the ring drains her energy to allow her to use magic, even if she is no longer a magician. Later, Mui gives Takeshi the pendant, explaining that it allows one to teleport into the trailer's hideout. She apologizes for not giving it before, but Takeshi reassures her that he wasn't ready for it back then, but he won't run off to his death this time either. Meanwhile, Kurumi awakens and she finds her body to be that of Takeshi's. Takeshi continues to endure the harsh training so he can save Kurumi. Meanwhile, Kurumi finds she can switch forms by kissing a target. She tries to get away from Geiko, and she bumps into Oigami, who agrees to bring her to his room. He reveals that his memories as a trailer are back, but he has retained those he gained while in Wizard Brace. As Otaru enters the room, Kurumi begs them to help her return to Takeshi. They lead her through the winding castle of Pendragon, but when they encounter Geiko, Hotaru kisses Kurumi so she can transform into her, buying them some time. However, Oigami is drawn away by Kippe, leaving Kurumi all alone. She accidentally undoes her transformation magic, and she stumbles into a castle tower. A mysterious figure leads her through the portal. She finds herself in a study and sees that the man who saved her is Kazuma. Yoko teaches Takeshi an incantation that allows him limited flight, but it reminds her of him as a child, and she ends training early. She collapses from the strain, but before she can tell him the truth about Geiko's accident, Takeshi insists she rest first. Although he never learned what his mother wanted to tell him, Takeshi is confident that he has gained sufficient strength. Mui and Ida join him as he infiltrates the trailer's base, but as soon as they emerge from the portal, Oigami and Hotaru are there waiting for them. Hotaru attacks Ida, but he hasn't been slacking off either, and he uses his blast finger to destroy Hotaru's syringe, before knocking her out with a headbutt. Takeshi is now on equal terms with Oigami, but when the latter protects himself with a seemingly impenetrable barrier, Takeshi combines his magic with Mui's, and their attack successfully breaks through. Defeated, Oigami recounts what happened between him and Kurumi, but he has not seen her since they separated. But what Takeshi did not know at the time was that Kurumi was learning the truth behind the war, a truth nobody could have expected. Takeshi returns home using his last dream as a sign. When he arrives, Geiko has already killed his mother. Geiko uses Twilight, now in chains, to attack Takeshi, but he soon pulls her out. He reveals the truth behind the incident 3 years ago. Yoko asked the former Camelot leader to kill him, but when it failed, she couldn't bear to hurt him again. However, neither knew the reason behind it. As Yoko breathes her last, she recalls the first prophetic dream she experienced when she still possessed Twilight. What she saw frightened her, so she mustered her courage to kill Geiko. Geiko and Takeshi realize the two will never see eye to eye, so the two brothers activate their ultimate magic, Nephilim and Crisis Edge. As they battle high in the sky, Wizard Brace and the Ghost Trailers also appear. Seeing that they are at a stalemate, Geiko tricks Takeshi by appealing to his brotherly love, when in truth, he just wants to land a cheap shot. However, Kurumi throws her body to defend Takeshi, and she's mortally wounded. Takeshi goes berserk and thrashes Geiko into the ground, adamant on ending it once and for all. Meanwhile, Kazuma heals Yoko's wounds and Violet asks him if he is feeling nostalgic. As the fabric of reality around him begins to shatter due to the brothers' battle, he pulls out a picture of Kurumi, revealing himself to be Takeshi. After his clash with Geiko, Takeshi finds himself back in 1998, a year before the first Great Magic War. He sees the younger versions of the faculty, as well as a younger Kazuma and Kippei. But what shocks him most of all is Geiko, who appears to be their acquaintance. As Takeshi struggles to comprehend what is going on, Geiko looks back and smiles at him. Meanwhile, Mui and Inoshima watch the smoldering ruins of the city and wonder where Takeshi is gone. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on the notification, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.